Good afternoon, welcome to Home Park. Ready to go again?
Super excited, can't wait for the real stuff to kick off. It's been a good pre-season, there's nothing better than first game of the season in front of your home crowd.
Just get yourself here, be right behind us from the first minute. I mean, we're going to need your support all season. The support that we get is unbelievable. I mean, we say it regularly because we mean it, and it's the truth. Without them, we're nothing.
We've made some great additions to the squad, I think. Some really good lads have come in. In all the games we've played, they've all had an impact, I think. So that's a bonus. I think sometimes it takes people a long time to get going, but everyone seems to have bedded in really quickly.
So we want to get off to as best a start as possible. Just said it's going to be a tough start with the teams that we're playing. But I think the overall message again will be just keep progressing as a club.
Be nice and loud, come with lots of smiles, stick with us, and we'll promise you we'll give it everything we've got.
Woke up at 5:20 again, which is normal. So yeah, I know it's down to business.
Here we go then, it is business time. A brand new season here at Home Park and a brand new season on Argyle TV as well. The Greens are starting it all again, but this time against a side that was relegated from the Championship last year. Today's match is against Barnsley. They are the visitors today. And unlike Argyle, there has been a lot of change up in Yorkshire, which I'm sure we'll get into in a moment. As you'll be able to see from the atmosphere behind me, it is a lovely day to welcome back the Green Army here to Home Park. The sun is shining. It's a little bit windy, so the chance of me eating my own hair at some point during this broadcast is inevitable, but we move. And also we're going to be having a great display down in the Devonport end where the flags have been arranged to display the various Plymouth castles which make up part of the home kit this season. So that will be something to look forward to in a moment. Now, over the next 45 minutes, we will be building up on this afternoon's Sky Bet League One openers. What we're going to be doing is hearing from the manager on what he hopes for the season. We will be taking a look back at what pre-season was like for the players and for the coaches. We'll be getting to know some of the new faces in the Argyle squad a little bit better. And the chairman, Simon Hallett, will join us for a live chat. And that's all going to be happening at around 2:30. And joining me throughout the broadcast this afternoon is once more the one and only Ian Stonebridge. Ian, nice to see you again. How you doing?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, what a lovely day for it. You know,
I
we
know.
perhaps expect it this time of year, but it's here, it's sunny, it's
Yes.
Home Park's looking absolutely fantastic, and yeah, can't wait for the game.
You got the shorts memo. I missed it this time. We'll see how it works. And also, I've got the new kit on today, so fit check. Now, Ian, first game back of the season, we can see the crowd starting to pour into the stadium, which is obviously, you know, great to see them here supporting the players. What's it like starting off on the first game of a new season?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's that time of real optimism where, you know, nothing's gone wrong yet for the team, and as a player, I think it's that time where, you know, you have your thoughts about what's coming up in the season. You've worked really hard through pre-season. You know, all that running you've done, the ball work, the tactical work, the pre-season games. You know, it all kind of builds towards today, and I think, you know, they'll be looking forward to it and really itching to get out there.
Yeah. And, you know, we see on social media and stuff, when it comes to the first game of the season, there will be fans out there who have been counting down the minutes and the hours to get back here and see some live football again. Are you excited for what this afternoon might hold as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, Barnsley come in, a team that have obviously been in the higher division recently. It's a good test. I think the signs from Argyle have been promising during pre-season, so it'll be great to see how that translates into this first game.
Yeah. Now, Argyle narrowly missed out on promotion chances last season, but overall, I would say they had a pretty good run of things. What are you expecting this time around?
Yeah, I think they had an excellent season, and the chairman, I think, and the manager have both, you know, recognised that perhaps they overachieved in terms of the league position. So, you know, the way they've looked to address things with the signings over the close season, I think, has been really impressive. You know, all of those players, which I'm sure we'll discuss, you know, look like really good additions to the squad. So we would hopefully see improvements in performance. We've seen a slightly different system in pre-season games as well. Yeah. So, you know, I'm really excited to see how that pans out in the matches.
Yeah. And we saw, I'm assuming you saw as well, Ian, some of the stuff that happened pre-season to get kind of the squad training together and working together. There was that amazing day that they all had on Bigbury Beach where they ended up running into the sea and rolling around in the sand. How important is doing slightly quirky things like that to get everyone gelling together before they, begin playing properly?
Yeah, I think it's vital. I think it was Morgan Whitaker's first day of training, wasn't it, with Argyle? So, yeah, welcome to the club. No, in all seriousness, I think it's really important. As much as some of it looked fun.
Oh, here he is, one of our star players. Pete, number 12, the Green Army, the 12th man. Pilgrim Pete has arrived. What are we going to do? A score prediction, Pete? Okay, go on then. We're saying 3. 3-0.
Nice.
Love to see it. Thank you, Pete. I mean, no pressure, everyone, but Pete has spoken. Ian, just very quickly again, is there the prospect, despite Pete saying 3-0, are we looking at a tough start to the season, perhaps?
I think undoubtedly, that, as we've already mentioned, Barnsley been coming down from the Championship last year. They didn't have a season that they would have wanted to, so they'll be looking to put things right. There's been changes at the club, and like us, there's that optimism around the first game of the season. They'll have been building towards this, and they'll want to put on a good show, and it's up to Argyle to make it a really hard day for them.
Yeah, I definitely think we'll see that. One of the most eagerly anticipated team selections of the season is out, and the 11 selected by Stephen Schumacher for today's opener will be on screen for you to have a look at now, and we will give a little readout of it also. Okay, so few new names, new signings in the 11 today. So first of all, of course, we've got Michael Cooper in goal wearing the number 1 shirt, Macaulay Gillespie, number 3, James Wilson, number 5, Dan Scarr, number 6, Matt Butcher, number 7, Joe Edwards, the captain, in the number 8 shirt, Ryan Hardy, 9, Danny Mayer, 10, Bali Mumba, 17, Finn Azaz, 18, and Adam Randall, the number 20. Ian, what do you make of that lineup so far?
Yeah, I think given the lineups and the formations that we've seen in the pre-season games, it's fairly much what was expected. I think perhaps something that we'll have to wait for the start of the game to see is who's playing right and left out of Joe Edwards and Bali Mumba. That would be really interesting. They both have that versatility to go both sides. So, other than that, we're going to see, that midfield pairing in of Randall and Butcher, which has been promising during this pre-season, and obviously Finn Azaz and Danny Mayer playing behind Ryan Hardy. I'm really excited to see how that translates into the game. There's been really promising signs during pre-season, so I think it's an exciting time.
Do you think it's going to bring a kind of new shape to the team, having these new players in and seeing where they fit and work best?
It does, and I don't know how much the kind of new formation has been driven by the need to evolve over this fairly strict formation that we've been recent seasons have been using, and I think that versatility and the ability of the team, they'll have an understanding of both systems, and being able to switch between them when necessary will be a real asset, I think, to the club this year.
Yeah. It's worth mentioning the substitutes as well, because amongst them we also have Morgan Whitaker, Nigel Lonvik, and Jack Endicott as well making an appearance on the subs bench as an academy player. That must be pretty nice for him.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Jack's a really strong player, left-footed, so he offers that balance down that left-hand side if needed. But as a bench for the first game of the season, it looks really strong from Argyle's point of view. So really good signs that the squad are going to push each other this year.
Yeah. And while we've got the team list up, let's have a look at the Barnsley side as well. Now, obviously, don't know them as well as Argyle, but we have number 40, Brian Collins, in the goalkeeper's position, 2, Jordan Williams, 4, Callum Stiles, 5, Liam Kitching, 6, Mads Anderson is the captain, 7, Nicky Cadden, 10, Josh Benson, 24, Robbie Cundy, 27, Jack Aitchison, 44, Devante Cole, and 48, Luke O'Connell. There was a little bit of a cheer then from the opposition end as we read them out. I feel that was purely coincidence. Do you think there will be a little bit of added pressure for this Barnsley side coming into today off the back of a relegation, Ian?
Yeah, there will be. They won't have enjoyed last year, finishing bottom. I think Brad Collins, their goalkeeper, was their player of the season, so perhaps that tells you a little bit about how their season went. So I'm sure lots of their players, although it's disappointing for them to be in a lower division, they'll be looking forward perhaps to having more more of the ball, perhaps more of a positive outlook on their matches this season. And as we've already mentioned, the change of regime, if you like, the new manager coming in, it's a fresh start for them as well. So I'm sure they'll be looking to come out with an optimistic attitude today and right from the start.
Exactly, and people often say first impressions are important, and I think that's probably quite relevant for them, but also Argyle as well, because when you've got the first game of the season in your own ground in front of all the fans, you want to impress them, don't you?
Absolutely, and those new players that are making their debuts for Argyle today, even all of those players that were involved last year, they know what it's like to play here. There'll be a great crowd today, brilliant atmosphere. Can't wait to see them. Yeah, and of those new players, there are 6 that have come in total. They are Matt Butcher, Michael Miller, Finn Azaz, Ballymumba, Morgan Whitaker, and Nigel Lonvik. Nigel, which was only signed yesterday as well, so it's nice to see him at least on the bench. That'll be a bit of a baptism of fire, surely, if he gets brought on at some point. Yeah, I think he'll be ready. They'll have brought him up to speed with everything that he needs to know. But it's another strong addition to the squad, and I think again it shows that ambition amongst the club in terms of what they're trying to achieve this year. And we've got Finn Azaz obviously playing as part of the starting 11. There's been quite a lot of talk about him pre-season. He seems to be playing really well and has, been part of the team really well. It seems like online especially, a lot of the fans are quite excited about seeing him play and seeing what he can do. Would you agree with that? Yeah, I think in the pre-season games it's easy to see why people are excited about him. I think he's looked to get on the ball, he's looked to be really positive and direct and to threaten the goals. He's been amongst the goals himself. And I think that the system as it is with those 2 players playing off of Ryan Hardy, it really gives the freedom to him and Danny Mayer to link up and get forwards in a way that will allow them to express themselves. And I think key for Argyle today will be getting the ball to those 2, Finn Azaz and Danny Mayer, in good areas so that they can influence the game. Yeah. Now, we did see as well the other day Alfie Lewis leave the team, but obviously with our other 6 new additions, how complete do you think the squad is looking going into this season? I think it's, impossible not to say that it's been strengthened, almost right across the board, with players in every position, not just players that are going to offer cover, but I think players that are going to offer real meaningful competition to the players that were perhaps established in this side last year. And I think that's important for a number of reasons, because whilst you might want a settled team and it can go in their favour to have develop that real understanding, I think at times as well, knowing that there's somebody knocking on the door to take your place if you don't perform is important in football. Absolutely, yeah, you don't want to get complacent, do you? Now, we've spoken about Finn Azaz just a moment ago. How excited are you for some other players? Are there anyone else that's kind of caught your eye of the new lineup, of existing team from last season that you're ready to see again? Yeah, I think what's interesting, Matt Butcher perhaps hasn't necessarily caught my eye, but I think he's been really steady and gone about his business in a really kind of productive way through this pre-season, and him and Adam Randall have clearly done enough during those pre-season games to convince the management team that that's the duo to go with. Yes. So I think I'm really looking forward to seeing them play together, and for Adam to get that chance to start a game. Starting the first game of the season is always really nice as a player. It shows that the manager's got that confidence in you. So I really hope Adam can take that and be a real influence on the game today. He's definitely got the ability to do it. I think he's shown that during the pre-season games, and I think he can translate that out onto the home park pitch today. Yeah. And what was nice as well is earlier on this week, Argyle opened up Home Park for a training station, an open training session where fans could come down and watch everyone train and see how they all work together. I mean, it's a nice thing to do, isn't it, for the fans, Ian? It's brilliant, and to me, it's clear that the direction the club as a whole is going at the moment is a really integral part of the community, and I think having that openness, the ability for the players to be accessible to the fans, and the management team to be accessible, the chairman to be accessible is really important. It creates that togetherness that I think will bode really well for the club. Yeah, I think their hands were probably more tired than their feet after that training session, the amount of autographs they were having to sign. One of the new signings that we haven't properly touched on yet is Morgan Whitaker, but luckily he sat down with Argyle TV earlier to reveal a little bit more about himself.
What's your first footballing memory? When you go back to being a kid, what's the first thing you remember about the game of football?
I think just playing locally in Derby. I played for a team called Spawn and Dynamos, going up to the Astro, playing, I think grazing my knee on the sandy pitches and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my first memory.
You say you're from Derby. Was Derby your team growing up? I know you played there, but was it the team you supported?
Yeah, it was. But my dad supports Stoke, so obviously he tried to persuade me to go to Stoke. But yeah, it's been Derby. Good stuff.
What about in terms of idols, both football and wider sport, who you grew up, idolising and perhaps still do?
It was Ronaldo. Funny enough, when I was 8, because I was at Swan and Dynamos and I moved to Derby. I got to be mascot against Man United, and I got a picture with Ronaldo sat on his knee, so yeah, that sticks out.
In terms of your actual experience yourself, who's the best player you've played with, do you think?
I think it has to be Rooney. I think even though he was coming towards the end of his career, you could still see his quality and what he was about, and I can't imagine what he was like when he was younger.
Let's take you out of football for the time being then. So recommend to us a box set, whether you've watched on Netflix or you've been on the coach on the way back from a game. Give us a box set recommendation.
It's on Netflix, Behind Her Eyes.
I've seen that.
The maddest twist at the end.
Well, yeah, we won't give that away, but I have seen that one. Let's take you to, what about music? If you've got your headphones in, are you a music guy, a podcast guy?
Definitely music. I like American hip-hop, like Lil Baby, Future, people like that.
Good stuff. What about pets? Any pets?
Yeah, I've got a yellow Labrador.
Okay.
He'll be 3 in November.
What's he called?
Kobe.
Okay, we'll get him a little Argyle dog shirt or something like that. What's your perfect weekend? So it's not football, forget football for the time being. Maybe it's just over the summer that we've just had. How can you spend your perfect weekend?
I think it'd be with the missus and a dog to a nice beach, letting the dog in the water, throwing it out a bit far for him to see him swim. Yeah.
You have no shortage of nice beaches around here, I can tell you that. And just finally then, because this is the most important one to us, we discussed this a lot. On the hob, what's your favourite part of the hob? Where would you set up to do something? Front left, back right, etc.?
Front left, the biggest one. Has to be.
That's the most important question, and as it happens, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And Morgan Whitaker is on the bench today, so hopefully we might see him make an appearance at Home Park. We'll also be hearing from the latest recruit at Home Park, Nigel Lomvik, at half-time. But now let's hear from the manager, shall we? Stephen Schumacher is beginning his first full season as manager this season, and he's very much looking forward to starting it.
Super excited. Can't wait for the real stuff to kick off. It's been a good pre-season. We've had some good games, but there's nothing better than first game of the season in front of your home crowd. Hopefully there's a boss crowd in and good numbers and cheering us all on, and we get a good performance and an even better result. The onus is on us to try and take the game to Barnsley and try and create a tempo, because we're the home team and that's exactly what we'll do. So good opportunity for us to get off the mark and hopefully we can play well and we can do that. It's like any other game. It's not the be all and end all if we don't win a game of football, but it's the first game of the season. Everyone's excited. We've worked so hard in the pre-season to be organised, so we hope that we're going to know what we're doing with the ball and without the ball. That'll be a good sign if we can see that from the players. And I say everyone is keen to get off to a good start, but as you've seen last year, we had a poor performance really at Rotherham and got beat, deservedly so, and after that we went 17 games unbeaten or whatever it was, so we don't overemphasise any result, but we're keen to start and get the excitement and the buzz going right from the very off. It's been a good pre-season. We've got out of it what we wanted to. We wanted to obviously get the players fit and up to speed as best as possible. I think we've done that. The lads look like they're in good shape. All the distances that we've been covering in the pre-season games are where we need them to be, so that's good. I wanted to have a variation of how we're going to play, so we know how our 3-5-2 system works, and now we've had a look at what a 3-4-3 system looks like, so that's been positive. I wanted to strengthen the team over the summer and we've done that, so good recruitment summer. I think highlighting players early on, which was Jimmy Dickinson's now
you'll take all the credit.
Well, he's not going to take all the credit, but highlighting the players, putting the presentations together that he done really well. Me going to present the presentations to the players over Zoom calls and meetings. We feel as though we worked really hard and we're pleased with the recruits that we brought in, so all that's good. Now it's the real work kicks in and we see where we're at.
Let's talk about Saturday then and Barnsley. It's a side relegated from the Championship last season, so maybe a bit more of an unknown than it would have been against a side that we kind of played against last year. How strong are they looking? How do you feel the game will go? What are you thinking about then?
Yeah, so Rotherham obviously got relegated from the Championship and had virtually a whole team that had played in the Championship the year before, and on the day they were just too strong for us, so we know that we're going to be in for a tough test against Barnsley. They've got loads of players that were there last season, so I'm sure they've got a point to prove. They're coming down a division in League One and will want to show that they're one of the strongest teams in the division, which I'm sure they will be. They've got a new manager that they're all going to be wanting to impress, so it's not going to be an easy game, but I don't think any of our games in the first few months are easy, so it's just another one. We'll have to be right, we'll have to give it our best and and yeah, hopefully we come out of it on the right side of the result. We were so close last year, but ultimately we were so far. So this year we've highlighted areas where we feel we can improve on the pitch and off the pitch as well. So I think we've done that in the pre-season, and now the proof will be in the pudding, whether we can go and challenge again and maintain and get the excitement around the place like we did last year. But you know, we'll definitely give it our best, and if we fall short, it won't be for the want of trying.
Welcome back. You will notice that we have now been joined by Charlie Price in between me and Ian to talk a little bit more in detail about the season. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Erin.
You are inside the camp. You got
joined.
to go to Spain, and we would like to talk about Spain pre-season training. But before we do, I would just like to dig into your personal experiences of visiting the sunny Marbella, and you actually managed to get in the country after a long period of time.
It was a slight nightmare getting in. If anyone, I hope they have read the blog, basically.
That's what I'm pumping for, get the blog plug in there.
That went out, yeah. It was a bit of a nightmare. My bag basically didn't arrive. I didn't have my COVID vaccination status downloaded. All of this happening late at night after a delayed flight. Everybody just wanted to get to the hotel, and then there I am, like, all right, guys, see you later. I'll wait.
Love
and
it.
Yeah, it was a disaster. About an extra hour.
But without the bag thing, and the players didn't leave you behind, fortunately.
Well,
so
they did.
Eventually, you got to see
behind.
them. You got to see what went on. What kind of shape are they in? What kind of shape are they in?
Yeah, I think that was it was an unbelievable trip, and I don't know whether Ian has experience of going on similar sort of pre-season trips away. Not even necessarily to a place like Spain, but I think you see a different side of the players. I mean, they were with each other a lot when they're in the club here, like in the dressing rooms, training, they eat together. But this is 24/7, and it is, you wake up, you have breakfast, you go to training, then you spend all day with each other. And I think that's one of the biggest things, as well as the physical side of training, is them getting to know each other even better than they do. New players coming in, kind of finding out how the dressing room is, and it is just a bit more, I don't know, solid bonding. Is that
like
what
team building?
Team building, bonding style stuff, which you need in the season, don't you?
Yeah, you do. I think the difference perhaps is Argyle's long away trips. So they have that coach time, which on a lot of occasions can feel like 24 hours solid travelling, depending where you're going. And I think that it will replicate that to a certain degree, but it's crucial for those new players, getting to know the team, getting to know the expectations. Yes, there'll be some light-hearted moments, but they'll also get a really good idea for the work ethic of the squad and the coaching staff. It's that intensive time to get those ideas across in terms of the tactical setup, and obviously we've seen a new approach, which I think the trip would have played a key part in establishing that. So those are all really important things.
We'll share the mic for you. I think also from a physical side of things, I mean, that is obviously crucial, but it was hot out there and they were worked very, very hard. And I have an appreciation for footballers, having worked at the club for a year, and see them quite up close and get to go to training. But honestly,
different ball game.
And it wasn't just running. It was just hardcore, short, intense games. And the rest period was basically doing a little jog. So speaking to Elliot Turner, the fitness and conditioning guy, he basically said there is method to all of his madness. I mean, the players sometimes hate it, but it's trying to replicate the way that Argyle want to play. And they looked superb out there. I've got to say, the new players that joined in, it was only Matt Butcher and Mikael Miller, but they settled in so quickly, so well. You could see their quality. You can see what they're going to bring to this side, hopefully, as well. So that trip was a huge success.
Yeah, but I suppose you have to keep the intensity of the pre-season training, not just places like Marbella, but back here, because the amount of signings that we've had that have come at various stages throughout the summer, including yesterday, you've got to make sure everyone still bonds, right?
Yeah. And Ian will know better than me what it's like when you join a new dressing room and trying to get into, understanding how a side plays. And Argyle play a very specific way. They're quite intense with pressing, and they like to keep the ball and play out from the back. And not every club at this level of football does play that way.
Yeah.
If you think of Matt Butcher coming from Accrington, they were a more direct side than Argyle. So that again, you're right. And the work they do down at Harper's Park is a huge part of that. And as much as players probably hate pre-season because of the running, it's a crucial part, isn't it, Ian?
It certainly is. I think perhaps the difference with, I never like to make myself feel old, but I think times have changed quite significantly, and you know, that discussion about small-sided games, you know, I remember, you know, as a player down here, we had a whole week that was basically, we did a tour of various places in Plymouth and the surrounding area, and we knew what type of running was coming at each of those venues, and it was really running. There was some ball work in the afternoon as well, but I think the scientific understanding of the benefits of having those high-intensity, small-sided games where you can really get all of the physical outcomes that you need, but whilst also playing football, which I think is really key. And yeah, it develops that work rate, that togetherness as well, which is an added bonus.
Yeah, and one of the members of staff that you've already mentioned, Elliot Turner, like Stephen Schumacher, is in his first pre-season at Argyle. I think he's been enjoying it so far, and he's been a big part of it. So let's actually find out what it was like for him.
All these plans and that were kind of put in place before the season finished last season, which is that, like, the detail has to be in there because it needs to be structured, it needs to be organised. For me, it was about me showing them what I see pre-season as. Obviously, they've seen it done in a different way previously. It's about how I see it going. So I put a structure in place in terms of, right, these are the days that we're going to do physical data, in terms of the focus is real physical loading. The balls will be involved within that, or you've got sessions to do before we go into some physical loading. Then the structure of the weeks goes by the physical loading changes, and the more football and the more, so for example, like tactical stuff can start coming into it. I'm not saying, Gaffy, you have to do this, but I'm saying, like, we had that conversation, right, okay, well, he said to me, where can I get this kind of session in? Okay, let's go in between these two sessions here, or let's add it into this part of the session. So those kind of conversations come in, and it was quite a open conversation because it's new to both of us in terms of, and the coaching staff seeing how I see it. So it was really, it was a good meeting in the fact of that it was, all information was taken on board, and from both sides. So Gaffer would say, well, I want to do this on this day, and it'd be like, okay, I might have to change something in my day, or this is the physical focus on this day, what sort of ball stuff can I do alongside that? So it was really good. I think that all coaches have had a say as alongside me, which is how we want to work. We want to work that performance department and the coaching department together, and I think it's been a real good mix. The whole combination, myself and Gaffer working together, with it being his first one as well, it's gone well. So yeah, fingers crossed we get a result on Saturday.
Okay, we're about half an hour away from kick-off here at Home Park this afternoon. First game of the new Sky Bet League One season. Simon Hallett is standing by, ready for a chat with us in just a moment. But as always, we want to make sure you also get in touch with us. So you can find us on social media. The best one, as I've said before, the only one they give me access to is the Twitter. So that's @Argyle. Forget all of last season where I was telling you to only one Argyle us. We literally are the only one Argyle. So our handle is now just @Argyle. Send a tweet. Me and Ian will be keeping an eye on them over the course of the game and ready to read out your thoughts, opinions, queries at halftime, and of course at the end of the game as well. We would love to hear from you, and as I said, about 30 minutes to go, and we'll be chatting with Simon in a sec.
Ball in, a good goal, Borja. Still progress into the second division.
Now, as well as Argyle TV and all the goodies that we have on there, the Argyle podcast is also well worth a listen. This week, Argyle legend Roman Lario joined Charlie Price, and amongst many things, he spoke about how he managed to convince his mate David Frio to join the Greens.
Storrock knew my agent from Scotland when he was at Dundee, and he said, he rang him, he said, I need the goalie. He said, well, I've got one, I'll send him. And he said, I need a midfielder, like a goal-scoring type of midfielder. And that's true. It's not me blowing my own horn. My agent rang me. He said, "Do you know someone that could play midfield?" And obviously, David played centre back for us at Valence. Sometimes he actually played in midfield. But when we were so bad in front of goals, and me playing goals, I always rated him in front of goal. He was decent. I could see he knew how to score a goal more than some of our strikers. And I said, "Yeah, I've got a guy. We've got a guy at Valence. I know he's out of contract because I've trained with him 2 weeks ago." I said, "If you want, I'll pass you his number." He said, "But will he score goals?" I said, "Well, if the ball's in front of the goal, he's got a chance of putting it in the net." And that's how it started. So yeah, David should be thankful really because I got him there.
Did you? Yeah, you should have got some sort of little bonus, I think, for bringing David to Argyle.
Yeah, no, but I it's true that I always rated him, but it wasn't hard to be better than what we had at the time in that club. But I felt he was good. He knew how to finish.
There are over 50 episodes for you to listen back to and enjoy of the Argyle podcast, and all of them can be found not only on our website but also on all the major podcast providers. You may now have noticed that I am not on my own. I am joined by our chairman, Simon Hallett. Hello, Simon. I like that you just a wave. Your presence is very noted here. Simon, how much are you looking forward to the game today?
I always look forward to games, but this is a particularly special one. I think not just because it's the first game of the season, because it's against a good side like Barnsley, who, as we all know, just got relegated, but because we've spent some time and effort over the summer getting Home Park into good shape, and I hope the fans get a chance to see it on Argyle TV because it looks just fantastic.
Yes, I'm sure the cameras will do it justice because it does look fabulous. The weather is great for it as well, and it was also nice that the fans got a bit of a sneak peek earlier on in the week, didn't they, with the open training day, which you were there for. We had a little chat. How was that for you as well?
That was a great day. So open training is where we invite the fans to come and watch the players training. We put on tea, coffee, drinks and some food. We put on a bit of entertainment for the kids. We had an extraordinary turnout. I never actually counted it, but I think it was over 2,500 people, and we were expecting a few hundred. So it was great. It's great that the fans are supporting the club at a time like this. What was particularly good was the number of kids. And frankly, the number of young girls there. So it's just wonderful to see that football is getting away from old blokes like me to young ladies like you, and even to young girls. It's just tremendous.
Women's football, especially this weekend, is very much.
Especially this weekend, yeah.
Absolutely, that will be one to look forward to after we get through today. Without stating the obvious, what are you hoping for throughout the whole season, Simon?
Yeah, well, I think we need to distinguish between what I expect and what I hope. So let's start with what I expect. And I think last season we got 80 points, which was way beyond what we expected. I think 80 points flattered us a little. On playing performance, we probably should have got a little bit less. So I don't think we can expect to get 80 points again this season. But I think we can expect to play good football. We can expect to be competitive in all games. I'd certainly expect us to be a little bit better than where we were last season, where we said we expected to be, 10th or so with an outside chance of the playoffs, which is precisely what happened. And, the reason why is not because we're spending a lot of money on the football team. We've raised the budget this year quite significantly, but we've also spent a lot more on what goes on behind the scenes. And I think, we need to emphasise that our long-term strategy is to keep spending on what goes on behind the scenes so that we can outperform that football budget.
Yeah, and there are developments happening, off the pitch, aren't there, around the stadium, around the club. One of which I would like to briefly touch on is the installation of the big screen in the
big screen,
corner of the stadium, just because I feel like that may be a prominent feature in my life going forward this season. What was the decision process behind getting that?
Let me just say, you've actually got that round the wrong way. You're going to be a big feature in the big screen's life. So we're looking forward to seeing you up there in the corner. Just to bring people up to date, the decision process was that it was something that the fans had wanted for many years. We finally had some spare money that we could put in for it. We kind of did the business case. We think there are good financial reasons for having a big screen, as well as improving the quality of what's on offer at Home Park. Where we are at the moment is that it's been caught up in the problems in the global supply chain. We are pretty sure that it's left Northeast Africa. Last I heard, it was on its way through the Suez Canal. It's due to arrive up the English Channel to Southampton by next week.
Exciting.
But it's been due to arrive for several weeks. So, if anybody wants to volunteer to go and get it, they'd be welcome.
It's okay. It gives me more time to brush my hair before it arrives. Now, one of the other things as well, which is kind of testament to what you were saying about things happening on the pitch but off the pitch, is the season ticket sales for this season.
Yes.
They have surpassed expectations.
Reminds me I need to come back to expectations and hopes.
Okay.
They've surpassed expectations, but I think they really demonstrate the value of the strategy we've had in place for 4 or 5 years. So we're in exactly the same league position as we were 4 years ago, 7th in League One, and our season ticket sales are up 50%. So all those in football, the football people who tell you that it's all about what happens on the pitch are wrong.
Yeah.
What happens on the pitch is very, very important, but what you offer your fans outside the pitch in terms of the match day experience, in terms of your communication, in terms of your broadcast opportunities, is critically important. So on the pitch is no better. Season ticket sales are up by over a half.
Yeah.
So fantastic.
Nice to see. And everyone's got the new kit on as well. And,
everyone's got the new kit.
And speaking of the new kit, of course, we've seen a change in the logo, which was, quite a noticeable difference because we are used to Ginsters, but it's Project 35, which is, an amazing initiative. And I just was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about that.
Well, it's an amazing initiative. We learned that Ginsters didn't want to do the front of shirts anymore. And we decided essentially that we were going to donate the front of shirt to charity. We approached a few who weren't actually that interested, so we decided to do one ourselves.
Yeah.
And then Ginsters, for which we're very grateful, came back in and joined in. And Project 35 is obviously going to be about addressing the problem of food poverty in Plymouth. But I think it's a continuation of what Argyle have been up to during the pandemic. We've had the vaccination centre running here, for which we got rent, let's be clear. But, what our trust has done, what our players have done, what our staff have done in the community has been fantastic. Yeah. So Project 35 is just another example of that. And I should say, we actually got an award. The stadium got an award for its contribution to the community, seeing off, massive sporting clubs like, the Raiders in the United States. And in fact, the award was given to us and Wolfsburg from the Bundesliga. Yeah. So a real tribute, I think, to what we've done.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Simon. Very quick. Goal expectation for the game? Are you willing to drop some numbers?
2-1.
Nice. Conservative? I like it. Okay, thank you very much, Simon, for joining us. We are getting really close to kick-off now. As I said before, social media comments, we'll be reading them out at half-time, so make sure you tweet us at Argyle. Let Simon know how fantastic it was to see him on Argyle TV, and me as well, maybe, if you fancy it. But as we are getting ready to take a closer look at today's game, let's have a look at our opponents, Barnsley in particular. There we go, a little bit of our opposition for this afternoon in Barnsley. Let's remind ourselves very quickly then of Argyle's starting 11 for today's match. We've got a couple of new starters with the likes of Finn Azaz on the pitch. Ian, thoughts on the team going out today?
Yeah, I think we've got that really strong foundation from the players that were here last year. They've got a really good understanding of, first of all, the system and what it means to play here at Home Park in front of the Green Army, and I think that's going to be vital. Yeah. But we've also got that really nice freshness of those new players coming in. They'll be really keen to put in a good performance today and make a good first impression on the Argyle fans. Yeah,
and they're going up against this Barnsley side. Do you think evenly matched? How, which way do we dare guess how it might go?
I think it's really tricky, to make a call on that, the first game of the season, with nothing else to go on. I think even at Barnsley there's been a number of changes. Obviously a new manager coming in, I've heard from him in terms of his focus on the process. I think he'll want to make his own stamp on the squad.
Yeah.
So it will be changes for Barnsley as much as for Argyle, and I think that makes it even more unpredictable, perhaps, what we should expect today.
Yeah, it's difficult to focus too much on Barnsley because there are so many changes. You mentioned Michael Duff there, who is their manager, and he was at Cheltenham last season. So, I'm sure he'll be wanting to come in, proving himself and getting Barnsley off to a better start than before, right?
He will, and I've heard him talking about, getting things in place, getting the process in place, focusing on that more than results, because with a team like Barnsley coming down, obviously maybe their fans have that expectation that they're just going to go straight back up again. It's going to be easy, but he's highlighted, the strength in depth of the teams in this league. Big teams, big budgets. It's a really competitive league to try and get out of. So I think they'll be realistic about their aims, and hopefully we can see Argyle challenging at the right end of the table as well.
Yeah, and they're all out there on the pitch behind us at the moment. It still seems like being antagonised by Pilgrim Pete on the sideline there, but everyone warming up. Home Park is filled up quite nicely so far, and while we've got a couple of minutes to talk about today before we hand over to the commentary team, the atmosphere, the occasion, looking behind you, Ian, and seeing everything going on, does it make you miss playing a little bit?
I could try and lie and make excuses and say no.
I love Argyle TV more than I ever did playing.
No, absolutely. I think that when you look at the size of the occasion, the crowd here, to have this number in the ground for the opening game, is fantastic. And I think that atmosphere, the pressure in a good way. As a player, this is what you want to be faced with. You want to have this amount of fans in the ground. You want to have the support of the city, which I know the club has. Things are heading in the right direction for Argyle at the moment, and I think it does. I don't miss the kind of the preparation, the nervousness, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I love coming to watch the game, but there's nothing better than getting on that pitch and being involved and trying your best for Argyle.
It kind of touches on what Simon Hallett was talking about before with the work that's gone into the club as a whole, not just the players, but everything that represents Argyle, and how the season ticket sales have been so good this year, because it's just become an environment that people want to be part of, hasn't it?
Definitely, and I think it's key that the experience people have when they come to the game. We know that Argyle have fans and supporters that will be here regardless of what the ground was like. They've been coming for years and years, but it's really important for Argyle to appeal across the city to a wide range of supporters, and they're clearly doing that, and that's showing in those pre-season season ticket sales. The number of people in the ground already today, it's really filling up, as you've said, and that's a really good thing. It's definitely reflective of all of that work that's going on across the club, as well as the signings and the excitement on the pitch.
And it will only be made better if Argyle pull a win out of the bag today. Of course, nothing is guaranteed in the world of football, but dare you make a prediction, Ian?
I'm really excited by the kind of attacking formation that we've got, Finn Azaz and Danny Mayer, and we know Ryan Hardy can score goals. So, I'm optimistic. Maybe 3. Well, I'm going to go with 3-1 today.
Okay, so
not far off Pilgrim Pete.
You're finding a bit of a middle ground between Simon and Pilgrim Pete. We've had a 3-0, a 3-1, and a 2-1. Of course, watching at home wherever you are, let us know as well what your predictions are. Get them in now, obviously, because if you start getting them after the goals come in, it's not super realistic, is it? Okay, well, I think we're getting ready now, because it is almost 15 minutes until kick-off. So that leaves me to say thank you very much, Ian. Ian will be joining me again at half-time when we catch back up with yourselves and see the highlights of the first half. But for now, that is us done. The action is just moments away. So a reminder that if you are watching on YouTube and live outside of the UK, you need to head over to Argyle TV now in order to watch the game. Same applies, of course, if you are in the UK and have an audio package. Just get onto the website, select Argyle TV and click on the streaming passes option. And at half-time today, as well as seeing me and Ian again, we will also be hearing from the latest Argyle player to sign. Stay tuned for that. But coming up next is the thing we are all here for. It's Argyle versus Barnsley. It's the first game of the new Sky Bet League One season. I know you've all been waiting for it, and you will now be in the company of Argyle captain Katie Middleton and Charlie Price. Enjoy the show.
What a difference a year makes.
Law is there to wrap it up. Law and Dillon. Argyle have a third. They've soaked up the second half pressure. Law played in.
Before I signed here, I thought I had an idea, but the reality has been something else. On the field, off the field, on our day, this club is a match for anyone. Limbs at the bridge.
First ball, watch for Jeff Buck to be on the end of a second. Oh, it's 1-0! Chelsea are behind to lead 1 Plymouth. Macaulay Gillespie, the big centre-back, glancing it in.
Unforgettable.
It's in my blood. It's a massive part of me all my life. Nothing makes me prouder than the academy lads coming through. And we're only getting started.
Argyle has given me everything.
It's my hometown club.
What a feeling when the fans chant your name.
We roll with the punches.
We take pride in the shirt.
We prove people wrong.
Next up in 23rd spot is Plymouth Argyle.
We take risks.
We leave it all out there.
We are Argyle.